morning and happy Sabbath. I want to thank you for that. That was beautiful and it belies the horrible weather. So I'm really glad to hear that. It's a treat to see you all here this morning. Pastor John, as you may know, has the flu and has been down for a bit, and so he cannot be with us this morning, but certainly is with us in spirit. There are just a couple of announcements this morning. I do want to draw your attention to the memorial service that will be here at 3 o'clock this afternoon for Susanna Fairchild. As well, you'll see in your bulletin that there is a request from Cypress School. They would like your help in a short online survey, and evidently there were hard copies somewhere. They are not located presently. However, you can do it online. And so we do urge you to take the time to complete those forms. At this time, I invite you to stand and greet one another and pass God's peace.
of this community. Thank you for keeping us through this week. We ask that you would bless our fellowship, that we would leave inspired and refreshed and ready to serve you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, friends. I noticed in the bulletin, as you did, that the purpose of the collection this morning is for the church budget. Now, does that sound a little stodgy? Well, I think for years we've had the thought that a budget was something to be feared or repressive because we had to stay within it and not spend more than so much. The budget was always holding us back. But I notice in management circles, budget has become more and more as a tool and a point of excitement. And I think for us here, our budget means, and I've seen it being put together, this is the time of excitement. The budget means this is who we are. This is what we want to do. These are the things that we want to get involved in and accomplish this year. Now, of course, the first thing you think of is in a selfish manner. Are they taking care of me when I get to church? Are the benches clean? Is the room comfortable? Is it warm enough? Well, I'll tell you, I do think of those things, but one that I'm waiting for is spring. I love the grounds around this church. Oh, and right by the main front door is a lovely rhododendron. It's a loderi. Oh, I know you don't care, but loderi is its family name. And it has beautiful white flowers. Oh, well, there is one of the loderi group that I'm especially fond of, Loderi King George. We used to have one beside our front door at the house. And when it was in bloom, people would come up to the front door, ring the bell, and by the time we got there, instead of what they were coming to talk to us about, they would be asking us, "What is that I smell? It's wonderful." Well, that's one of the gratifications I get from what our church budget covers. But there's so much more. Remember, I said this is what we're about. This is the things we do. These are the things we care about. One that I'm very pleased with is Hands Across the Water. Yeah, it's fun to see the kids take the blue buckets and come down the aisle, and some of them don't even really know why they are getting it. But you do know what we're doing with it, don't you? One is a school in India for boys, and they need another level. They need more room for dormitories, and that will mean also more students and more teachers. Yeah, they need the money, and I'm all for it. What else? Well, you may have noticed, Holbrook Indian School. I'm sorry I didn't see it any time we went to Arizona. I wish we had digressed and gone over through it, because I get their magazine now, and it is a delight, the things that they're doing for those young people. Another place was in let's see, Ukraine. I was going to say the name of the town, but the province of Ukraine in Russia. We were taking care of a school down in South America. There are so many things that we are about that we ought to take notice. Yes, I'm glad we're doing that. Well, there are various things that we do that are in the budget. Let's give them a lift because I'm interested in them. I want to see them accomplished. Will the deacons stand, please? Father, you've called us together and we've come. We gather for many purposes, but this is one in which we wish to return to you the love, the affection, and the benefits that you have showered on us, we wish to shower with others. Thank you, Father. Amen.
There we are on. Good morning, boys and girls. Hello, how are you today? Good. Well, I thought today for our children's story, we would play a game. Do you like playing games? Yes, I do too. Let's see, what game shall we play? I have something. Let's see. Right here in my pocket. There it is. What's that? Baseball. Shall we play some baseball? Baseball in the church? Really? Where's your sense of adventure, children? Your parents have raised you well. I'll tell you what, we're going to break the rules a little bit and we're going to play some baseball. You don't believe me? All right. Charlotte, would you stand up, please? This is Charlotte. You all know Charlotte. She's going to be a baseball player. And she's going to be on the team called the Tigers. So all of you kids over here, you're going to be on the Tiger team. All right? Is that cool? All right, Charlotte, here's your baseball. And this is Irina. Irina, please stand. She's going to be on the White Sox team, and that team is going to be over here. Yeah. See, what color are your socks this morning? Anybody wear white socks? Not for church so much, no, but we are. So this is Irina, and Irina has, what is that she is holding there? A baseball bat. Okay, Charlotte, go ahead and back up a little bit. Charlotte is going to be our pitcher on the Tigers. And Irina, go ahead and look at least like you're going to hit the ball. Good. All right, Charlotte, wind up and pitch the ball. Ready, freeze! I'm going to help her out here. Unfreeze. It's a spitball. Bonk. Uh-oh. What happened? She missed the ball. No, the ball hit her. Now, if you were Irina right now and you got hit by a baseball that was thrown as hard as possible, how would you feel?
I would throw it back.
You would throw it back? In a nice way or a mean way? So, you don't like that, that didn't make you feel good, does it? Irina, how'd that make, no, not so good. All right, let's trade places then. Give me the bat. Irina, here's the ball. It's your turn to hit the ball. How do you think this is going to go? Pretty bad. Okay, Irina, wind it up. Ready, go. Freeze! I'll help. Oh! You knew it. You were right. What happened? We were going to play baseball, and this isn't really baseball anymore, is it? What is this?
Hurt ball.
Well, hurt ball. That's a good answer. So, something happened to her, and it made her feel bad. And her reaction was, I'm going to get even. I'm going to get back at her. Sometimes we call this revenge or vengeance or just getting even. And it happened. Now let me ask you, let's think about how Charlotte feels now. Do you think Charlotte feels, yes, that's fair. I feel good now that everything is equal. Do you think she feels that way? No. In fact, I was watching a baseball game one time on TV where this happened. And all the teammates of Charlotte's team on the Tigers were very upset. And they came out and they had a fight with all the teammates of the White Sox players, and it was not good. In fact, by the end of that game, 5 different players got hit by baseballs and 3 fights happened. Maybe getting even isn't the best thing. Maybe when you think you're getting even, it's just making things worse. There is something in the Bible about that I'd like to read really quick. I got it from the kids' Bible. Boys and girls, don't hit back. Discover beauty in everyone. And if it's all possible, get along with everyone. Don't insist on getting even, because that's not your job. God says, I'll do the judging. I'll take care of it. Thank you very much, and let's pick up an offering.
Heavenly Father, we have come from many different places, but we all have one thought, that today we will meet you here in your house. We bring with us things that we have been doing and thinking all week. Some of us are not too happy. Some things have happened that gave us dismay and disappointment, and we bring them to you. Give us renewal of spirit. Let your spirit fall into us and revive us. Others of us are here with joy in our hearts. Things have gone right. Something wonderful has happened, and we came to rejoice with you. Bless us in our joy. Bless us in our sorrow. We think of the ones that are not here. We think of Julie. We wish so much that you would take her illness and turn the corner and bring her back. We wish to see her. There are others in the congregation that we are missing them. They miss us, and we wish to be together in joy. Father, let that rain down upon us. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. And now, we have said it in our own poor words, but we thank you for the prayer that you gave us. And we join in to say, Our Father, in heaven, blessed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our debt as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
The Old Testament reading is from Psalm 71, verses 1 through 9. In you, Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, rescue me and deliver me. Turn your ear to me and save me. Be my rock of refuge to which I can always go. Give the command to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Deliver me, my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of those who are evil and cruel. For you have been my hope, sovereign Lord, my confidence since my youth. From birth I have relied on you. You brought me forth from my mother's womb. I will ever praise you. I have become a sign to many. You are my strong refuge. My mouth is filled with your praise, declaring your splendor all day long. Do not cast me away when I am old, and do not forsake me when my strength is gone.
Oh,
The New Testament reading is from Romans 7:17 to 25. But I need something more, for if I know the law but still can't keep it, and if the power of sin within me keeps sabotaging my best intentions, I obviously need help. I realize that I don't have what it takes. I can will it, but I can't do it. I decide to do good, but I don't really do it. I decide not to do bad, but then I do it anyway. My decisions, such as they are, don't result in actions. Something has gone wrong deep within me, and it gets the better of me every time. It happens so regularly that it's predictable. The moment I decide to do good, sin is there to trip me up. I truly delight in God's commands, but it's pretty obvious that not all of me joins in that delight. Parts of me covertly rebel, and just when I least expect it, they take charge. I've tried everything and nothing helps. I'm at the end of my rope. Is there no one who can do anything for me? Isn't that the real question? The answer, thank God, is that Jesus Christ can and does. He acted to set things right in this life of contradictions where I want to serve God with all my heart and mind, but am pulled by the influence of sin to do something totally different. May the Lord add his blessing to the reading of the word.
I'm going to do a little sound check. Are we good? Can you hear me up there? How about back there? Okay. Thank you. I guess all of you can hear it too. Okay. I got to get this other thing out of the way because I was sitting there during children's story and found a baseball in my hands. And my body might have been here, but I was transported about 40 years back in history. I almost didn't make it back. I was gripping the different pitches and remembering different scenarios, but I'm here now. But I think I'd like to borrow that ball after the service. Maybe strike out Charlotte or something like that. It is, as always, an honor and a privilege to be here. I just think it's so fascinating and wonderful to be able to be here as a community and explore issues of faith, to talk about our lives, to talk about God, and hopefully to enrich our understandings, to add blessing to our lives and inspiration, and even to make sense of some of the things that can be confusing, the things with which we struggle. One of the focuses of today is the idea of mess. Our lives being messy. We struggle in our lives. We're going to explore that throughout, so you might just start thinking about in what ways and at what time is your life a mess? When do you struggle? But I want to begin just by acknowledging that my sermon title is not, it's not all that big of a shock. To be in a Christian church and say God is for us, that's the title of my sermon. That probably doesn't come as a shock to any of you. So I want to acknowledge that up front, but I want to say that part of what gave rise to this sermon was reading something written by Rob Bell that talked about God being for us. It's in his book called What We Talk About When We Talk About God. I think it's a really interesting book. It's been very meaningful for me. I'm only halfway through it. But the sermon sort of was inspired by that. And I want to read you a passage. I'll read a few passages as we move throughout the sermon. But let me start off here. He's trying, let me say this, I guess. Rob Bell is one of those authors I read, a Christian author. He's a lot like reading John McClarty in John's book, A Faith I Highly Recommend. I don't know if you've read it, but it's a book unpacking what it means to be Adventist. And John McClarty, in the book about Adventism, my take on it is that he provides us with a corrective. That it's easy to have been Adventist and basically learn some things along the way that perhaps don't work so well, or perhaps are misunderstandings. And John came along, and I found his book really refreshing and helpful. It was a corrective. It reminded me also of what Jesus does in the Sermon on the Mount. Some of my favorite passages are when Jesus says, "You have heard it said, but I say unto you." And it's sort of like you think of all of this history that Jesus is saying, hey, wait a second, you got the wrong idea about God. You've heard about him this way. I don't want to correct that. This is really a more accurate understanding of God. I find that when I read John McClarty, as I said. I also read Brian McLaren, Rachel Held Evans, and Rob Bell. And they help me. They help me to wrestle with some of those questions. And they provide a corrective for me. And one of those was happening recently as I was reading Rob Bell. So I want to read this. And this is about God being for us in our mess, in our messes, in our struggles. So I'll read a couple of passages here. The gospel of Jesus is an unexpected, foreign notion, a strange idea that cuts against many of the dominant ways we've all come to believe are how the world works. The gospel of Jesus insists that God doesn't wait for us to get ourselves polished, shined, proper, and without blemish. Now we could just pause there and think about those words for a while. God doesn't wait for us to get ourselves polished, shined, proper, and without blemish. God comes to us and meets us and blesses us while we are still in the middle of the mess we created. We are still in the middle of the mess, and there's God. I think that's a really refreshing picture of God and a very helpful one for me. So I want to say a couple things about messes. First of all, most of my preparation for the sermon has been around this idea of the messes we created. And I have lots of examples of that, certainly from my own life and from some of the professional work I do. But when I was downstairs this morning and listening to Myrtle speak, I realized that I had neglected a whole other side of mess. So most of the sermon is going to be focused on the messes that I create, the messes that you create, the predicaments we get ourselves in. But there are a lot of messes in our lives which we had no hand in creating. You know, the history of Black Americans, they had no hand in creating the messes, the slavery, the subjugation, the discrimination. A lot of currently Black and Brown Americans are subject to those influences, and they are not of their own creation. They are messes. And it still raises the question from the sermon today, what do we do in those messes? How do we handle those messes? And is God for us even in those messes? And we could even talk about gender and the messes that women can find themselves in, not of their own making. I mention all that because now I'm going to put that in the background, but we can also have a really important, we should have a really, should have ongoing discussions about those. Today, we're focusing more on the personal messes that we find ourselves in and that we create. So, I was walking my dog, well, Emma's dog, but I have the privilege of walking Ollie on most mornings. I was walking Ollie, and I thought, Kurt, you're preaching this sermon today. What kind of messes, have you been in? And I thought, first of all, I'd already thought about some messes, but the idea of a physical mess came to mind. And then I started thinking, and this happens for me a fair bit when I start thinking about times of embarrassment, times of shame, times when I'm just really stupid. And sadly, there are so many of those. So I was thinking about that as I'm walking Ollie. And I'll tell you about an interesting thing sort of that happens while I do this kind of thinking. But I was thinking about the time, this is really embarrassing. I was probably 13 years old, right after Christmas. And I think I had the job of taking the Christmas tree outside. Like, it's dying, it's dead, it's dry. I'm supposed to take it outside. But I have this brilliant idea because we have a fireplace and there's a fire burning there. I thought, why don't I just throw this in the fireplace? And so I've got the trunk end of it. And so I start shoving it, into the fireplace. And it's a dry, Christmas tree, Southern California. And what I discover really quickly is how fast and how hot Christmas trees can burn. And the flames start coming out of the fireplace. Now, the only saving grace here is that we had this massive brick fireplace. And I think to this day, well, I'm standing here today because we had this massive brick fireplace. The flames are coming out. I am getting hot. Nobody else is around. And so I just shoved that thing in. And fortunately, the house was. But I think, and here's the interesting thing, I think about that, and then really quickly, I can think of so many other examples, like they're all lined up just waiting for me. These examples of when I was stupid, when I created a mess. I was once in the same house, we lived right next door to our church, my father was the pastor, it was the evening, I was on the roof of the church, and I thought, oh, there's a telephone pole there, I'm on the roof, I think I can reach out and grab that telephone pole and just slide down it. And this is your classic telephone pole, you know, with all they're not very smooth surfaces. This is a wood, it's creosote, so I grab, and I actually can't support my weight, I'm about 10 feet off the ground. And so I just slide down the telephone pole, bare arms, and all of these splinters and shards and everything, just, you know, I don't want to fall, so I keep holding on. And so what's interesting to me is I just think of how easy it is to come up with example after example like this, and how how many messes I've created. And these are the simpler ones, and later in life they get more complex. Real quickly, it reminds me of a movie. It's a movie called Defending Your Life. It's an old movie starring Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep. And for those Finding Nemo fans, Albert Brooks is the voice of Marlin, the father. And I'll assume you know who Meryl Streep is. And it's an interesting movie. The premise of the movie is that when we die, we have to defend our life. We basically have to show God that we have used our brains well. So the theology of it is a little messed up, but it's a funny movie. You can watch it for the humor and not for the theology. But there's this interesting scenario, because part of what happens is people have to view the highlights or lowlights of their life, like on film. And Albert Brooks, so the Meryl Streep character is always serene. She uses her brain really well. So when she reviews her life, you can see kindness and calmness and wisdom everywhere. And when Albert Brooks looks at his life, you just see disaster after disaster. And there's this whole montage, like 6 or 7 times in a row, if I remember correctly, in which he's sliding off a roof, falling off a roof, because he's trying to repair something and then he slips, and he's doing something else and slips. It's hilarious, but I relate to that movie so much, because I can just see all of these messes. And sometimes I have to shut down the movie in my own head. I can't take anymore. And there's the messes as a kid, the fireplace and then the telephone pole, and there's so many more. Finally, we'll comment on that. It is good material if you're going to tell children's stories. So that's one of the saving graces here, is help me to tell children's stories. But as I got older, the messes were not just about me, they were about other people. And I won't go into them, but I've hurt many people. I have been too intense, too defensive, said unkind things. There's a whole litany. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but certainly there's plenty of those messes. And it raises the question for today's sermon, where is God in that? Where is God when I feel overcome by my own shame, by my own embarrassment, by my own sense that I have failed to live up to the things that really matter to me, and I have hurt people that really matter to me? It's not a small question, because those are gut-wrenching experiences, to come out the other side and say, I actually did that. I actually said that. I actually acted that way. So that's what we're focusing on today, are those kind of moments. And again, this is where I found some of Rob Bell's words so encouraging. I'm going to shift over to my professional life for just a few minutes here. I've talked before here about how I'm a marriage and family therapist, marriage and family counselor. I sit with people every week, and we talk about their lives. So every week, I have dozens of conversations in which people are talking about their messes. Again, some they've created, some that have been thrust upon them. And these are challenging, interesting, heart-rending conversations with some degree of hopefulness. How do we get to a better place? How do we work through this? So as I was thinking about this sermon, I was just reflecting on the last week and the kind of messes, the kind of struggles that I've really had the privilege of talking with people about. And this is just a partial list, but financial messes, legal messes, messes related to violence, sexual messes, harsh parenting messes, sitting with a parent and a young teenage child who says basically, you don't have the right to be my parent anymore. Those weren't the exact words, but that was the tone of voice, that was the treatment. And it was heart-wrenching to see a parent basically being told by a child, you do not have a right. And we're not talking about any kind of extreme, any kind of violence. We're just talking about some parenting that wasn't very good, and yet the child is cut off. Suicide attempts is part of the mess we talk about. Substances that are abused, misused, a lot of marriage messes. A lot of marriage messes, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Loss, the struggle of loss, the mess of loss, hopelessness, and then one that I have quite a few conversations about with, especially the older people I work with, and that is the mess of not feeling like you have a sense of purpose in life. Who am I now that I'm beyond my working years, now that I don't spend that time with family or I cut off from them? These are the messes that I feel like it's a real privilege and it's really challenging work to be with people in those messes. I was thinking about a particular couple recently that demonstrated, I would say, the poignancy of the question, well, I guess let me back up. The question that often happens when I'm working with couples is one partner will think about or ask the other, they don't put it in these words, but I think this is often the question. Do you still love me? Are you still there for me, even though now you have 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years knowing what a mess I am? It's a really powerful question. Can you still be there with me? Are you willing to be there with me? Even though you know. Because that's the thing about marriage. We don't necessarily know that we're signing up for this, but one of the things we are signing up with is, okay, you get to see me as a mess. Congratulations, you get to see my messes. I'm the guy who shoved the tree into the fireplace. I'm the guy who tried to climb down this pole. That's who I am. You get to live with me. Lucky you. And after a while, the question becomes, am I too much of a mess? Does this person still want to be with me? And sometimes right there in session, the answer is no, I can't be with you. I don't want to, and that's pretty hard. And sometimes it's like, well, I thought I didn't, but I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to give it a try. I was talking just recently with a woman. Normally I see her with her husband, but he had a scheduling conflict that evening, so I met with her alone. And we've been meeting for 6 months on and off. And I said, well, what would you like to talk about? And she said, well, we've got about 20 more years of life left, making some assumptions there. We'll be together another 20 years. I think I can go through those next 20 years being married to him if I know that he loves me. If he doesn't love me, I don't want to spend another 20 years with him. They've been married 25 years, and this is the question. And I said, well, how would you know if he loved you? And we've had this conversation with him in the room, so we were revisiting it again. How would you know if he loved you? And she says, well, he would say it. He would touch me. He would want to be physically intimate with me. She and I had both been part of the same conversation, so I already knew what his answer had been the 20 other times she had asked these questions. It was some version of, that's not who I am. I'm this age. I'm not changing. You know who I am. You know I don't do that. I don't do touch. I don't do physical affection. Yeah, I'll give you a hug if you really need a hug. I don't say I love you. He could say the words, but it's probably not a kind of I love you that any of you would want to receive. It wouldn't warm your heart. Yeah, I love you. Okay, you happy? I love you. Okay, here's a hug. Okay, you happy? Okay? So the woman has a dilemma. By the way, this guy is really big, and he's gruff, and he is the one client, more than any other client, who every time I meet with him, he says, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. I don't want to talk about this stuff. So fortunately, we've made a connection. He still announces that every time he shows up, but then he at least answers my questions. But I guess the main point here is you get a picture of how much it means to us as people to know that the primary people in our lives, especially the people we're married to or intimately connected with, how much it means to us to know that they are there for us. And when we don't get that message, we pay an enormous price. I live with you, I'm with you every day, and yet I don't really feel like you're here. You're not here for me. And sometimes that's the reality, and sometimes it's a matter of how the message gets expressed. This woman and I talked, and there's lots of evidence that he is actually there for her. But if she waits for him to say the words or spontaneously to express affection, it just isn't going to happen. He's got too much trauma in his own life, in his background. Those are things that do not come easily for him at all. But the good news is she can find other ways, and she has found other ways. But the point for this sermon is how much it matters to us on the human level to know that we have people there for us. And then when we think about God, certainly as Christians, I think the question is how much, even more perhaps, it matters to know that God is there for us. Let me read another section from Rob Bell. This is a reiteration of a little bit that I said before. The gospel of Jesus isn't us getting it together so that we can have God's favor. The gospel is us finding God exactly in the moment of our greatest not-togetherness. Which I think, again, we could just pause and reflect on that for a long time. It is not about us getting it together so that God says, okay, now I'll come. Now I'll be there with you. It's right in the heart of that not-togetherness. God, according to Jesus, is for us because God loves us. This is the response of love. I'm there. Of course I'm there for you because I love you. Not I'm there for you because you're so cool. I'm there for you because you have it together. I'm there for you because you are such an obedient person. And then he says this, and maybe you can think about this for a moment with me because it hits me very profoundly. When we talk about the God who is for us, we first have to talk about our deep down intuitive awareness that we need help. Do you have that intuitive awareness? Do you have that sense that you need help? Because there's an interesting connection about the sense that I need help and then my ability to turn to God. I don't really struggle with my sense that I need help. I have to live with myself. I'm pretty aware that I need help. I'm aware of my own messiness, my own struggles, my uncertainties, my fears, my falling short. And I'm also aware that things get thrust upon me sometimes that I'm not sure I can handle. But I guess, thankfully, perhaps to my parents, perhaps to the church I grew up in, that it has always been an option for me to turn to God at those times. And there's a mystery to it. I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know why it works when I say, God, I'm overwhelmed here. God, I really messed up here. I don't know exactly why that makes a difference, but there's something deep down inside of me that knows that it does. That I can be walking along and be overcome with a sense of fear or anxiety or frustration. Christian, and then I turn to God and I say, help. And a few minutes later, it's like, okay, I think I can move forward. So some of what Rob Bell writes, I think, helps me with this. God is there in the tears, the questions, the despair, the blood, the lament. Tears, questions, despair, blood, lament, God is there. Your tears, your laments, your despair, your questions. And think of this image. God is there sitting with us in the ashes. Even when we shake our fists at the sky and declare that there is no God. And that's a pretty bold statement. Even when we say there is no God, God says, fine, I'm going to sit here with you anyway. I'm going to be here with you in the ashes. And I was thinking about that for the moment, about God being there in the ashes. And when I read Rob Bell, the picture I get is, God is not reluctant to do that. God is not begrudging. God is not saying, wait a second, Kurt, you're in the ashes again? Weren't we just here yesterday? You're here again. It's the 5th time today. What are you doing in those ashes? That's not God. That's not the God that's portrayed in this writing by Rob Bell or according to him in the gospel. That God is actually says, oh, you're in the ashes? Yeah, I'll be right there. I'll be with you. Yeah, that makes sense. Life is hard. Of course you're struggling. I'm there with you. I'll help you. I'll support you. I'll encourage you. Help you find your way out. Finally, when I think about people who struggle, people who are a mess, one of my favorite people, besides Peter, is Paul. The Apostle Paul. And I think he does this as amazing service by being so honest about his own failings. I'm going to turn here to the New Testament reading. I'm going to read a little bit of it, but it's amazing. It's hard to believe this is actually written in the 1st century or whenever it was. It just feels so 21st century. Of course, I'm reading out of the Message, so Eugene Peterson's paraphrase or translation, so that gives it a more current tone. But even when I read it in King James or whatever version, there's this sense in which Paul is being amazingly vulnerable and open and honest. So just think about the honesty here. Think about you making these statements about yourself. I obviously need help. I realize that I don't have what it takes. I can will it, but I can't do it. I decide to do good, but I don't really do it. Have you ever been there? I decide to do good, but I don't do it. I am having so many conversations with my clients in which they're saying, yes, next time we have an argument, this is what we'll do to preempt the argument or to move it in a good direction. Next time I start to feel anxious, here's what I'm going to do. And so many times they come back the next week and say, yeah, didn't quite pull it off, or forgot about it, or in fact I stepped into that same thing I always do and it was a disaster again. Here's Paul saying, I decide to do good, but I really don't do it. I decide not to do bad, but then I do it anyway. My decisions, such as they are, don't result in actions. I mean, this is an amazing confession here. It's so far beyond, yes, I'm a sinner. This is like getting into the details. I try to do good, I commit to doing good, and then I don't do it. And I say I'm going to avoid the bad, and then I do the bad anyway. It happens so regularly that it's predictable. The moment I decide to do good, sin is there to trip me up. I truly delight in God's commands, but it's pretty obvious that not all of me joins in that delight. Parts of me covertly rebel, and just when I least expect it, they take charge. Paul is describing this battle going on within himself. The parts that want to do right, the parts that don't, and sometimes, often, the parts that don't want to do right are victorious. And the question is, where does Paul turn to for help? And is God with him, even in these battles, even when he does the very bad thing that he says I shouldn't do? Time and again, because he says the pattern is predictable. I've tried everything and nothing helps. I'm at the end of my rope. And just for context sake, this is not Paul writing in the past tense. He's not saying, hey, once upon a time, my life looked this way, the good and the bad, and I was doing the bad things. He's writing to the Romans in the present tense and saying, this is going on right now. This is what my life looks like. This is the famous missionary, the second most influential person in the history of Christianity, saying, this is what my life looks like right now. Is there no one who can do anything for me? The answer, thank God, is that Jesus Christ can and does. He acted to set things right in this life of contradictions, where I want to serve God with all my heart and mind, but am pulled by the influence of sin to do something totally different. Now, there's two ways we can hear his statement about Jesus Christ there. One is sort of the ultimate sense of salvation. Hey, I might mess up in this life, but Jesus ultimately saves. And I think that's in there. But in some ways, I find something more personal and ongoing. Like, even when I mess up today, through Jesus, God is still there. God is in the ashes with me today. God is there for me. That's a powerfully compelling, as far as I'm concerned, version of God and understanding of God. God is there for me, even though I know that today and tomorrow I am so likely to be in the ashes again. I don't want to be, I'm working hard not to be, but I find myself there. Paul goes on in chapter 8, so that's all chapter 7 in Romans, and then there are these famous verses that sort of speak to what God's presence does for him. In Romans 8, if God is for us, who can be against us? And there's that sense in which it's not like I'm victorious and I never sin anymore and I never do what's wrong. In the midst of doing what's wrong, in the midst of sin, God is still for us. So who can be against us? God is there in the ash heap with me. So who can be against me? And there's just tremendous, personally, I find tremendous comfort and encouragement because the call as Christians, as followers of Christ, is not to be perfect. It is to live and to do our best, to seek to follow Christ, and then to call upon God and allow God to be there with us in the ash heap. Let me conclude just by reading one more paragraph, a couple sentences from Rob Bell. The peace we are offered by God is not a peace that is free from tragedy, illness, bankruptcy, divorce, depression, or heartache. That's not what God is offering. It's not that kind of peace, although God helps us in those situations. But we have tragedy, we have illness, bankruptcy, divorce, depression, and heartache. It is peace rooted in the trust that the life Jesus gives us is deeper, wider, and stronger, and more enduring than whatever our current circumstances are. Because all we see is not all there is, and the last word about us and our struggle has not yet been spoken. And because God is there with us in our struggle, in the ashes. My weakness is strong. May we all find God's strength in the face of our weakness and know that God is there for us, and he is for us. Amen.